Someone asked me a very simple question. They asked, why are there so many vacant homes when there's over 4,000 children sleeping in emergency accommodation? Why? And the answer I gave them is also very, very simple. It's because this government represents those who own multiple properties, not those who own none. And that's the central truth of politics, which is attempted to be covered up all the time. Taoiseach, on Saturday, together with residents and housing activists, I was outside a house in Swiftbrook in Tallaght. It would make a fine home for a family, but instead it has been vacant for 10 years. It is owned by Pepper Finance, a vulture fund that is notorious for hiking up interest rates on mortgage holders. But it's been sitting empty for 10 years. It is one of more than 50,000 homes across the state that have been vacant for 6 years or more. One of more than 1,500 vacant homes in Dublin 24. And someone asked me a very simple question. They asked, why are there so many vacant homes when there's over 4,000 children sleeping in emergency accommodation? Why? And the answer I gave them is also very, very simple. The answer is the reason is because this government represents those who own multiple properties, not those who own none. And that's the central truth of politics, which is attempted to be covered up all the time. That we have a government that is not striving to house everybody, to address the health crisis, to address the climate crisis. No. We have a government that represents those who profit and benefit from the housing crisis. A government that represents those who profit from the health crisis. A government that represents those responsible for the climate and biodiversity crisis, not representing those who are affected by all of those crises. And for all of the talk of new energy, there is going to be no change with Simon Harris on that fundamental. The talk of going back to basics for Fine Gael, what does that mean? It means rhetorical commitment to law and order, which if passed into action means abandoning the rhetorical commitment to a public health approach to drugs. It means tax cuts for businesses, cuts to the lowest rates of employers' PRSI in the whole of the European Union. You're going to cut it. It means extending relief for developers on development levies. For developers, giving them another break. And what does it mean for workers? It means the promised sick days are threatened to be taken away from them. On climate action, Eamon Ryan gives it away when he says we're only warming up. There's a tragic truth to that about the whole world. We're heading to absolute disaster. Our eyes are wide open. And you're in government with a man who made a speech to Ardèche promising that he would fight for the right of big dairy farmers to pollute our rivers. A government that is committed to expanding data centres with no problem about the water, no problem about the electricity, no problem about the direct burning of the gas. And unfortunately, with the help of some so-called independents, the government gets a stay of execution. You avoid a general election, but you cannot avoid a local and European election in 8.5 weeks' time. And this will be people's opportunity to serve an eviction notice on this government, to kick you out of the councils, to kick you out of the European Parliament, and hopefully kick out the European Commission President that you support, a supporter of genocide, Ursula von der Leyen, from her position. But also to serve notice on this government that fundamental change needs to be coming. But I want to send a warning to people, because there's a lesson to be learned from what happened here today. This government only got such a substantial margin of victory for Simon Harris because of the support of a whole load of so-called independents. Most of these independents started their political career in Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael and fell out with them. Their highest political ambition is to be a minister in a Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael-led government. That's the truth. The independents who will stand in local elections across much of the country are much of the same. Key question for every single candidate and party: will you commit not to prop up Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael? Will you commit to give a fundamental alternative after the next election?